Hi everybody, this is Tony DeSantis with Community Living Essex County, and as you can see from my t-shirt, this is a classic car t-shirt. I used to own a 1977 Pontiac Firebird, and that was my first car, and I absolutely loved it. And so this weekend we are going to be holding our classic car show again, and unfortunately due to COVID we're not able to get together. So what we're going to be doing is utilizing footage from last year's event. And for those of you who didn't see it, we hope that you'll enjoy it. And for those of you who did see it, you'll have an opportunity to see it again. We've got some really classic cars. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any 77 classic Firebirds, but we have a lot of other cars. And again, this is the biggest fundraising event that we have every year for Community Living Essex County. We hope that you'll enjoy it and that you'll consider either making a donation to Community Living Essex County or buying a pie. But we hope you enjoy the Apple Fest, and we certainly hope that we'll be able to see you again next year. Take care. Bye now.
We are here with Fred Glaude of Windsor. And Fred, you've got a beautiful Chevy Stylemaster here. This is a 47, I believe?
47, yes.
I'll tell you something. My parents came from the old country back in the day, and the Stylemaster was my dad's very first car. Prior to that, he had driven little English cars and whatnot, but he graduated to a big American car. Tell us about this and how this appeals to you.
This car here is a Stylemaster, but there's very little of it that's still a Stylemaster. It's got so many designs done to it. The roof's been cut 4 inches. The front end's all changed. It's all fiberglass. The hood opens and closes with a remote control. There's no door handles. It's all shaved and custom. The paint job, everything on it is just not 47 anymore. It's completely rod.
You're keeping it classic, Fred, but I suspect this is a car you could drive anywhere.
We go all over the place. We don't just go on cruises. We go out together and drive around just for breakfast. We go out.
But you could probably point that to the West Coast if you wanted to. You got all the creature comforts in this car.
I got CAA.
Yep. You've probably got air conditioning though too, do you?
No, I don't. I just got the vent on the front that opens up.
People will want to know, did you do it yourself? And
No, I didn't. It was built by Ray Hebert, and he did a fabulous job, him and his son-in-law, and they worked on the car from 1984 till 1990s. They did the custom work. The car was painted 8 times.
Awesome. So, well, it's looking every bit of it. It's a great car, and we're glad you're here with us today, Fred.
Thanks for having me.
Many thanks.
Nice seeing you again.
Happy motoring. Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
We are underway with our virtual car show at Colasanti's. It's a beautiful day here in September. We're really favored with beautiful weather. I want to thank Jim's Division Tirecraft Auto Center in Kingsville and Napa Auto Pro. These are our event sponsors. We'll refer to them again, but thank you, Jim's Division and Napa Auto Pro. Our media sponsor is AM 800 CKLW. I'm heard on that occasionally. They carry our broadcast from CTV. So we're pleased to be with you today, and I'm delighted to have been invited. Now, not all car owners, some are bashful. They don't necessarily want to be boasting about their cars, but I've been given a fact list in this case, and what we're looking at here is Pete Watson's beautiful car, and Pete's from Bell River. He tells us this is a 1934 Chevrolet Master Coupe. And there's a very nice turn of phrase here. It's a Hemi, and it's a blasphemy. Blasphemy. That is very nicely worded. Pete, we appreciate your sense of humor with that. And what you're looking at here is a 354 Chrysler Hemi with a 7004 transmission. It's got dual quads, of course, electric power steering, positive traction, and it doesn't leave much to the imagination. And once again, it is a beautiful upgrade on an old design. There's certainly nothing wrong with taking an old car and improving upon it, and I think this is the penultimate example of that. A thoroughly dependable and modern rod. And what I like about it, and you don't get to see this very often, you have the engine completely out in the open. And the engine is the heart of a vehicle, and we get to see the heart of this car, this blasphemy, right here. It's got beautiful pinstriping on it too, and what I like about a car like this is it reminds us of the lost arts. This certainly represents a period in time. When I talk about pinstriping, we're looking at this on the cab of the car, on the door, and even engine and headlight details. It takes a real artist to do that, and there's fewer of them all the time. And it captures a moment in time for us, and it's a great period in hot rodding. You can see the different size wheels and tires on the front and back. It has also what you'd call crash bars on it. Not that you'd want to crash a beautiful car like this, but It represents that period in time when maybe a car like this at one time might have been used for moonshining, because it was a very fast and powerful car with a big trunk and crash bars on it. So we'll just let you drink in the beauty of this beautiful 34 Chevrolet Master Coupe. Tell us about your ride, Terry.
It's a 49 Ford. I picked it up just outside of Winnipeg, Selkirk, Manitoba, off a farm. This is a F68, which is a 3/4 ton. It actually had a 1-ton rear end in it. I've done a couple alterations. It's got the original motor in it. If you want to look, it's got the old flathead. It's all done. Original generator, 6-volt. Everything under the hood pretty well is original. I have redone. I put an S10 Chevy 5-speed transmission so I can drive it on the road, and I changed the rear end out because it was ridiculous. The old 1-ton was too much, so I but it's got 8-volt wheels, and I redid the wheels to have new tire, so I could put what do you call them? Radials on.
Right. It's not a farm truck anymore.
No.
This truck, I suspect, was in continuous service, wasn't it? There wasn't a period of time. You didn't restore this or bring it back from a scrapyard or anything. This had been a working truck.
Yeah, it was. I should have brought the pictures. I've got the pictures of it when I brought it home. It had 4 foot, like the racks were 4 foot high from here, so they were like way up here. Wooden oak racks, and it hauled grain. That's what they did with it. So. Yeah.
You've done a beautiful job with the bed. It's got beautiful wood in there, and
everything is
if you're hauling around a bucket of bolts, you don't want beautiful wood like that in the bed anymore. So this truck's had its working life. Now it's a truck for pleasure.
It's a fun truck. Yeah. It kind of was a rollout in my garage for a number of years. All I did was put junk on it, and if I needed to clean or anything, and you could just take it out of gear and roll it in and out.
Well, it's having a better life now.
Yep, much better.
Thanks for bringing it to the show. Nice talking to you.
Okay, thank you.
We're with Donna Gibbs this morning, and you can't go wrong with a Cadillac. They're always welcome at any car show. Tell us a bit about the car, what year it is and what have you.
Okay, it's a 1995 Cadillac. And Larry, my fiance there, he was able to get it.
So we're dealing with a car that's over 25 years old now, aren't we?
So it is a classic as well. And it's funny because it brings back memories. In my family, we always had these big cars. Not too many people like them today, but I like them, and they're great on the highway.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking to us today.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate it, Donna. Thank you.
Yes.
Give you the fist bump.
Yes, thank you.
We're with Paul Thiessen. Paul is from Leamington, so he's a hometown guy. Tell us about the car, Paul.
Well, it's a 70 Cutlass S, and it's been hot rodded a little bit. And I bought it in Texas in 1979. It's my first car.
Not everybody can say that.
Yeah.
So you knew what you wanted right from the start.
Well, it's just a car that made sense to buy at the time. I was in college down there. So just kept it ever since.
We've spoken to one other person today so far, and they also had a Texas car. Texas seems to be a popular place, especially for Canadians, to get cars, and the reason's fairly obvious. They don't have the corrosion problem that we do. Mind you, they do have heat that often will damage the interior of a car, crack the dash pads and whatnot. Was it in this kind of condition? Well, as you said, you've had it since new, so you maintained it.
No, not since new. It was 9 years old when I bought it. Yeah. And it's been through a lot of crashes and stuff too, so it's been fixed.
Now, in terms of the engine, have you had to do much to the engine?
It's been replaced. The original was a 350. This is a 455, and it's hot rodded pretty good.
I can see you've chromed tastefully. You've got the valve covers, certainly, the alternator, your brakes, chromed. Boy, look at that power steering, or the air conditioner rather, over there. That's beautifully chromed too.
Yeah.
We're looking at beautiful paint, and look at the gold pinstriping along the side of this car. That's a very nice application there.
Thank you.
And this has iconic taillights too. Anybody who lived through the 60s will remember those taillights. 1970, of course, with the rocket motif on the deck lid there. We're with Daryl Chase at the Leamington Ruthven Apple Fest car show, and this is our virtual show this year. We're delighted to be bringing it to you from the grounds of Colasanti's. We're with Daryl Chase today, Daryl is a regular at the car shows. We met many years ago. It's a beautiful Buick Riviera, Daryl. Tell us about the car.
It's a 1965 Riviera Grand Sport. It's the first year of the Grand Sport. It's all numbers matching. It's got dual 4 barrels on it out of the factory. I'll show you underneath the hood.
We'd like that.
This is how it came out of the factory. It's a little dirty, but
And that's what's called a nail head engine. Maybe you could explain why that is so.
because your valves are up here, and they got small valves in it, what they call it a nail head. And this is the 2 4 barrels that came out of the factory.
She's a nice neighbor.
That's got a healthy appetite for gasoline.
Oh yeah. Can't go too far with it. Well, it's not that gas station.
Daryl, you love the Buicks. Has it always been a Buick for you?
Yes, it has. I got a '66 Buick too. Different body style than this one.
What is it you like about this, Daryl? Tell
Well,
us some of the features.
I like it about it because of the motor. It's got 2 4 barrels, and you don't see too many of these Buicks around. This one's a Grand Sport too, the first year of the Grand Sport. And it's got the bucket seat, deluxe bucket seats in it. It's pretty well loaded, but everything but air.
Paint-wise, what did you do?
I just painted it orange blast, I should say. But I've had the car since '89, so. But when I got it, it wasn't in this condition.
No. Was it a Southern car or?
No, it was came from Rhode Island,
My goodness.
but it was a good one.
And did you source it from Rhode Island yourself, or?
No, the guy that owned it, he brought it right to me when I was living in London. He brought it to me in London when I was living there, and I told him to drop it off.
What I like about this car, and a lot of newer cars have disc brakes. This has drum brakes, but they are huge drum brakes.
Yeah, 12-inch.
You can actually see that. Dylan might be able to show us that. Just massive drum brakes, which provide plenty of stopping power. You've never
yeah.
had a problem.
No. And it's like aluminum with a steel insert in the drums.
Well, it's a beautiful car. I've had the chance to tell you that in person many times, but I want to thank you on behalf of the Apple Fest organizers. It's a beautiful car.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Very good. So we're talking to Louie and Joyce King today, and tell us about the Mustang.
It's a California car. I've had it well, it come up here in '93. And I've had it since.
And what year is it?
It's a 67.
It is 67. And was the body, before there was a major restyle, this is still consistent with the first body type of the Mustang, is it
First
not?
body style, but the 67 was the first of the wide bodies. They made them 2 inches wider so they could put a big block in them.
Yeah. Now, the first year for the Mustang was 64 and a half, wasn't it?
Well, they call it a 64 and a half, but they were all registered as 65s.
And many of those cars had a 6-cylinder engine in them, not this
Yeah,
one.
that was standard. No, this is a GTA. The GT had a high performance. Whether they could get a 390 or the 289 hypo.
Would a 260 be standard for a V8 in this? Would it have been a 289?
289.
289.
Yeah.
We'll take a look inside too, and it's always nice to have a console, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember that it's Dylan's going to show us the inside of this beautiful Mustang, and I always remember the beautiful colored buttons there, the park reverse neutral drive low. It was just a very nice little styling touch.
Lights up
Yep.
when the key's turned on.
And you've got a glove box kind of compartment there with a folding door on it.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have to have a Thunderbird or a Cadillac or something like that. You could have a very nice car at this price point, very nicely trimmed. It has a beautiful dash. You've got a nice disc brake logo on the brake pedal, beautiful bucket seats. Just about everything's right. Have you ever had another classic, or were you always a Mustang guy?
If it isn't a Mustang, I don't want it.
There you go. There you go. Well said. Well, Louie, I thank you for bringing the car to show us today, you and your lovely wife. And
Jack.
we're with George Holt of Leamington. George, I noticed we were looking at Louie's Mustang right next to you, and the trim along the bottom, both are GTAs, and it had somewhat of the same trim pattern to it,
Yes,
didn't it?
yes, they did. Mustang was 1 year only. This was 2 years. Yeah, 66 and 7.
Tell us about the Fairlander, if you would.
Well, It's a 1967 Fairlane GTA. It has a 390 big block in it with a C6 automatic. And the car is all original. It's still original paint and interior. And I'm the second owner.
That is remarkable.
Came from Calgary.
After all this time.
Yeah.
Did you source it? Were you looking specifically for a Fairlane?
Yes, I looked for 3 years because I had two when I was a teenager. So this is my go-to car, and I just liked them. So.
Now, this was what was known as a mid-size car, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes. 17 feet long.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And people would laugh today because by any standards, this is a big car.
Yeah.
So there was a full, like a Galaxy or something would be a
Yes.
full body size bigger.
Yeah, it was 2 feet longer.
Longer.
Yeah.
But what the advantage for you, sir, was you had all the performance, a big engine like you might have in a bigger car, but in a smaller
Yes,
car. So it
yes.
certainly was very peppy.
No heavy frame under here. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And Jim, the shirt on the seat doesn't cover up a rip. That's a shirt from where this car come from.
Oh, I'd like to take a look at that.
Metro Ford,
Metro Ford.
Calgary.
Very nice.
Yeah. Everything is original on this car.
And you know, we were talking about the Mustang. George, you can see even the console, there's some similarities in terms of the instrumentation and what have we.
Yeah, a lot of similarities. Yeah.
George, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks a million.
Yes.
Keep driving that beautiful car.
I will.
If you're just joining us today, I'd just like to go over again that this is it's a virtual car show. We normally hold this car show the last Sunday in September. And in this year of changes, everything's changed, but I want to commend the organizers here because, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only car show that's taking place this year, and we're bringing it to you safely in your living room. The 41st Annual Ruthven Apple Fest, first virtual event, however. And we want to thank our event sponsors. We want to thank Napa Auto Pro and Jim's Division Tirecraft Auto Center in Kingsville. You know, without sponsorship, things don't take place, so we're beholden to both of them. Also, our media sponsor, AM 800 CKLW, and that's a division of Bell Media, and I work for CTV and Bell Media. So now we're going to meet Vince, and Vince is from Kingsville. Tell us about the car, sir.
It's a 1932 Ford Roadster. It's got a big block Chevrolet, a 5-speed transmission. This has been about a 12-year project. I started out buying the rails, and then I bought the body and the various parts, machined a lot of parts. I'm a machinist, so there's a lot of handwork that's involved in here. We really pushed hard to get it done in the past, I believe, 3 years. We were in Autorama in Detroit this year, where we took third in our class. We went to Toronto for Motorama in March, and we took second in our class, and the car was picked for the Canadian 10. So.
And Vince, those shows took place, I was at Autorama in Detroit. That was just before the coronavirus thing came in. That was the last car show I was at prior to this one.
Yeah.
And it's not every car, ladies and gentlemen, that makes it to Detroit Autorama. You have to be a very high standard builder to have a car there. I'm just looking at the wheels. I've never seen wheels like this before. Tell us a little bit about the wheels.
The car is built basically in a 60s, 70s theme. Back in the day, you didn't have a lot of money, but everybody that built a hot rod basically built a hot rod to go fast. That's why the big motor, the stick shift, they used to put mag wheels. This is the way they were back in the 60s. If you wanted them polished, it was quite a bit more money. Nowadays, it's the other way around. These were cheaper than polished, but not by a lot. But the car is also detailed this way underneath. The exhaust is completely chrome 304 stainless. The bottom of the body is just as nice as the top. I'd like to mention,
please,
the only way this car got done is through the help of my family and lots of my friends. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't be here.
And let's look at the interior. Just Vince, tell us a little bit about the interior, because this is an open car.
Yeah.
Most people won't have ridden in a car like this, and you do have a sensation of really being in the open. I remember a friend that had a rod. I thought when he turned a corner I was going to fall out of it, and of course I wasn't. But
this is about close to you get a riding a motorcycle. With the big block, it's got an abundance of power. It's just really fun to drive.
And it's cozy too. It's almost like the cockpit of an aircraft.
This body is built with 2-inch longer doors, and the cockpit is 2 inches deeper. So I can fit in there nice and comfortable. My wife fits in nice and comfortable with her legs stretched out.
You're sitting nice and low, aren't you?
Yep, you sit nice and low.
But you like to drive it because there's nothing wrong with an automatic transmission, but you have a 4 or 5 speed stick in this. Wow.
We have over 1,200 miles on it since March.
Well, it's a beautiful car.
Thank you.
I
Thank
appreciate you telling us about it today.
Thank you.
Happy and safe motoring. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Much obliged. We're with Bill Bonham. You're from Leamington?
Yes, I am.
Tell us about the beautiful Corvette, Stingray.
Yeah, it's a 72 Vet, and I bought it in 75, and it's had numerous different colors in that. The original color was Ontario Orange. I don't know if you remember that color.
I don't.
Jim. It used to be pretty popular in the early 70s, that color, for whatever reason. But I had this repainted about 5 years ago now. It's black cherry in that, 350 engine, and it runs well in that. I'm just pretty happy to have it.
I can appreciate that. And did this car have factory lake pipes like we're looking at here?
No. Those were put on after. The exhaust usually goes out the tail end and that on this particular year and that.
They look great though. They're on
Thank
it
you.
like it looked. That I asked if it was factory because I could see it looking like that from the factory.
Well, you know, it's funny with the side pipes. They really complement certain years of Corvettes and that, and like they look good. They look good on this year.
And because you've got the deep body sculpting here, don't you? I think that's what
Yes.
you're talking about. I mean, look at the egg crate vent there, and the indentation. You've got the fenders flared both at the front and back, and the lake pipe just nestles in there beautifully. And that's the exhaust for somebody who might not be familiar with it. Well, it's a beautiful car, and I appreciate you bringing it for us
Thank you very
today.
much, and it's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for talking to us today. Happy motoring.
Thank you. Same to you.
Sir. Thanks for joining us today at the virtual car show at Colasantes, the Apple Fest car show. You thought it wasn't going to take place this year. You were wrong. We're with Dan Burdick. Tell us about the beautiful truck.
It's a 58 Chevy Cameo Carrier. Last year of production for that truck. And 1,405 were built in 1958. The back of that truck is all fiberglass, born and bred that way.
Let's come around and look at that. This is very distinctive. You think you know pickup trucks. Please explain it for us, Dan. It's just, this is high style. I mean, this is, you'd hate to see it. You certainly could work this truck because it is a truck, but it would be a shame because it's such a custom truck.
That was a poor man, it was a rich man's toy in 1958, is really what it was. The box is steel. It was a fender side box, and they do away with the fenders and they put an overlay of fiberglass on it. And it becomes a fiberglass truck. The back of it, everything is unique to this truck.
Oh man, look at the taillights.
That's
and would that wood inlay, is that just like it left the factory with
Yes.
that? That's something.
yeah.
A lot of folks with a pickup would put the wood in later, but this is
Exactly.
the way,
No,
as you
that's
say,
the
it's
way-
high style.
That's the way it was born.
Mm-hmm.
It's but like I say, it was a highly not sought after. It was a damned expensive one.
It would be because you indicated just over 1,400 of these. That's not a lot, is it?
No. And again, it was the last year. It's got the stacked headlight, or the horizontal headlights, 4 headlights. We've done some upgrading on it. I've got a big block in it with a 5-speed, with power steering, power brakes, disc brakes on the front, drums on the back. It's a great thing to drive. It's a good time. It's a really good time.
The cab is beautiful, and you've got significant rear window glass in this too, don't you?
That's one of the traits of
It's
this.
got a beautiful wraparound, so you've got almost complete visibility with this truck.
You do have, and you know, in a nice hot summer day, when you don't have air conditioning, you know that.
I love it. And I love the dash array. Everything's very nice. And this is a stick too, ladies and gentlemen. This has got a
5-speed.
5-speed.
Board Warner 5-speed. And power windows. It's great to drive. It's great for creature comforts. Lots of fun. Any parts that you have to buy for behind the cab are almost non-existent because they were just for the 58. Well, some 57, but for 58.
The great thing with General Motors, though, all the powertrain parts are available.
Interchangeable.
And, yeah. the spare supply is very good. I mean, I've got an old Chrysler and an old AMC, and both of those are getting hard to find parts.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You're in good shape. Dan, I appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a million. Beautiful truck. We're with Ray Foster, ladies and gentlemen, and you're a Ruthven guy?
Yep.
So you didn't have too far to drive today in this
No,
beautiful
I
Thunderbird.
just jumped in and away I went.
Tell us about the car.
Well, it come from Wheatley. It's my son-in-law and son helped me rebuild the whole thing. We took the body off the frame and all that. It was in pretty rough shape, but we got her done.
What year Thunderbird is it?
57.
57.
And it's a stick shift. Hey, you don't see them too often.
You don't.
Stick shift. And I got the hard top for it.
Oh, that's very
For
desirable.
the bubble.
Yep. And that was a factory stick in this, was it?
Yeah, as far as I understand.
Gee whiz.
Yep.
If I was ever to pick up another classic car, I'd love it to be a Thunderbird of this vintage. I fell in love with this car on the Vegas
Okay, yep. That's
show
where-
set in Las Vegas, where Dan Tana is driving
Right.
the Thunderbird. It says
Yep.
Tana on the license plate.
This one I wanted it different, so I painted it a white pearl.
Did you?
And then I put a console in the middle because I got to have a spot for my coffee.
Of course. That is one thing folks might not appreciate. Older cars did not come with cup holders.
That's right.
I remember my dad had an old Ford Falcon. Now, you could put down the glove box, and there was 2 ring-sized indentations where you could rest a tiny cup of coffee on it, a styrofoam cup, but
Right.
wasn't much of a cup of coffee.
And then I wear this Elvis thing just for the fun of it.
Do you wear that, Ray, when you're driving around?
Sometimes, just depends on the wind.
You're going to show us the engine here.
Yep.
We'd like that. And notice how the hood cantilevers forward. Very few cars do that. Jaguar does that. Certain Fords did. Fords with the opposing trunk lid and engine hood.
They call that a Y block. It's a 292, I think.
Yes.
Eh? That's the way the engine comes.
And that is Y block, as in the letter Y, as opposed to wide block.
Yeah.
Y
Yeah.
block. Yeah. And
55 to 58, I think, had them.
you've got some modern features. I see you've got
Yeah,
power steering on there, and
I got the regular steering for it off a 55 Ford, but it didn't work, so I put conventional power steering on it.
everything works. And it's nice to take a classic car, isn't it, and just upgrade it to, for the creature comforts and safety comforts as well.
I got bad shoulders, so it's hard to steer.
Yep, and believe me, if you've got an old car without power steering,
Oh, it's
you're
hard.
really, it's like you're driving a lumber wagon, isn't it? Well, we're glad you brought it out today.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Same with you.
Happy
Okay.
motoring.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
Okay.
Now, this is a Pontiac Grand Prix. Tell us about the car.
Well, I bought it. It's a 4-speed car. I had a 69 Grand Prix when I was a kid. It was 1971. And I always liked that car. And I've had muscle cars all through the old days, Chevelles, GTOs, Firebirds. But I always liked that Grand Prix. And this thing come up for sale in 1999 in Michigan. And the only reason I was interested is it's a 4-speed car. And I called the guy
Let's
up.
go take a look at that, because you wouldn't typically expect to see a 4-speed in a car like this, would you?
No, that's right. And I called the guy up and I said, you know, I had Grand Prix when I was a kid, and they didn't make a 4-speed car. And he gave me the website to go on, and out of 112,000 cars in '69, Pontiac made 287 Model J 4-speed cars.
That's very rare.
So I had to have it.
And this is a John DeLorean era car, because you've got the PMD, Pontiac Motor Division, in the hubcap there, and that was something he was very proud of, John DeLorean, the head of Pontiac Motor Division. You've got a tack on the engine hood there.
That was an option back then. Yeah,
So,
and like they had an SJ and a Model J, and the SJ, all that stuff was standard, but you could order the Model J and pick out whatever option you wanted. But this guy obviously got and the red line tires were from the factory, and
everything's perfect. And everything is correct. When you look at a car, you're seeing, as you say, the proper red line striped tires, the factory floor shift. It's a big body car. I always loved the Body by Fisher. I grew up looking at that. My dad always had Chevs, and Body by Fisher on the rocker panel. That was always a nice GM styling touch.
And Jim, that car just drives like a brand new car. I am just tickled pink the results of it. Actually, I've got let me get this little. There's the build sheet right there.
Oh, there you are, guy. Here's the build sheet. This is often found under the back passenger seat, and this tells you the way the car left the factory in the...
And it's only got a handful of options, and the first one is the 4-speed transmission, radio, push-button radio, speaker rear seat, the side mount mirror, rally wheels, which are the Pontiac wheels, defroster, electric defroster in the back window. That was a first. Plus the no antenna.
Yep.
The antenna's in the windshield. And
extra antifreeze for $1.56.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, there it is, red line tires.
Yep.
And those are
very nice option. Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Well, thank you very much.
Ron, I thank you for meeting with us and showing us this beautiful car.
I can hardly wait to see you tonight on TV.
Thank you, brother. Happy motoring.
Steve Abbott.
Steve Abbott. Steve, nice to see this beautiful Roadster.
Thank you.
Tell us about the car. Has it always been like this?
I built it actually from a kit that I ordered out of Miami in 2005. And it took me about 6 years to get it on the road. Basically, I would have kept going, like building it. Like, it's not finished, the interior's not finished, and a few other things. But I had 2 daughters get married back to back.
Understood. Understood.
So we were wedding poor, so that's where it stopped now. But now I've got people. I got a guy all lined up to do the interior next. We're just waiting for the COVID to stop, and the materials over in the United States that we're going to bring in and stuff like that. So
this is a 34, or
Yep.
it's very faithful to the look of a car.
Yes.
And you can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, there aren't a lot of 34 anythings around, so it's wonderful to have a car like this here today.
that is the reason why I like that. I always like the 34, and there's not a lot around. Have to have something different.
The interior is very clean and very functional. Is it an automatic or a stick?
Automatic.
Automatic, yep. And you've got a nice array of gauges, all the things that you need to know. Modern seats. And it is nice to gently upgrade a classic car too, because often, and I'm an old car owner, people will follow you in traffic and sometimes they think you're driving an old whatever. They don't realize that the car has been looked after, it has been maintained, otherwise it wouldn't be here. The owner has often personalized it with different fittings in the interior, sometimes adding air conditioning and things like that. So you've done this car up your way.
Yes, exactly. That's the convertible. Like you talk about air conditioning. There's my air conditioning. No top, but a top is eventually. I want to get the interior done, then the top, and then the body will go in and get the body all done and that. So. But a few nice features on it, like like I say, the overdrive transmission and the no door handles.
Yes, old shape, yeah.
The trunk's got.
How does that work? Do you push a button? Push a button?
Just it's the handle inside, and then the trunk's got it's a power trunk lift. Nice sound system. You can't see it; it's hidden behind the. I just always cover it.
Of course,
Yeah. But like I say, it's a fun to drive. My wife really she's right into cars. She would be here today, but she had something. It's something with our daughter.
Well, it's wonderful to have a supportive spouse.
Yes,
I know that because it's a terrible thing when you're a man or a woman with a car and nobody to ride with you, and they don't understand how you're spending your evening hours out in the garage working on things.
Yeah, I talk about going for a ride, and she's right there where we going.
Steve, do you think you'll ever enclose the engine at all?
No, probably not. I like the look of it and everything like that. I do have the covers if I ever wanted to, but I've got some ideas for like the vents and stuff on the side. But like I say, they're not. Like I say, I don't drive it in the winter time. Try not to drive it in the rain. I've got caught a couple times, but nothing too heavy. But I just like the look of it. And a lot of kids get the kick out of looking at the motor too. So, yeah.
Well, it's nice talking to you today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And this is the 41st annual Ruthven Apple Fest, but the first virtual car event. And you know the reason for that. It's because of COVID-19. But I want to credit the organizers for putting this on. And this, to the best of my knowledge, is the only car show taking place in the region this summer. It was typically the last, but it's the first and the last this year. I want to pay particular thanks to Jim's Division Tirecraft Auto Center in Kingsville. Thank you, Jim. and to Napa Auto Pro. Those are our two major sponsors underwriting the cost of this event, and our media sponsor, AM 800 CKLW. I work for Bell Media myself, a division of CTV. Let's get on to Bob Wilson now. Bob and I, we're in a mutual admiration society because he's got this beautiful Barracuda Valiant here, and I have a Pacer. And Bob, we always try to see who's got the most glass. I think you win the prize here.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, but... Yeah.
So tell us a bit, have you had this car a long time?
Actually, it's 10 years ago this month that we bought the car. We found it up north of London. And it's pretty much right now the way it was when we found it. Other than some touch up on the paint, that paint is 26 years old.
Terrific.
It's got a 273 small V8 with automatic. The back seat on the car folds down, which gives you a lot more luggage area right to the back of the car.
It's not quite a hatch, but it has it's kind of in between, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of a cross between the old fastback style and a hatchback. Actually, a hatchback would have been a good idea with it.
Mm-hmm. But the trunk opens and you can push things through.
That's right.
Okay.
And then the seat can come down as well to create that much more space inside.
Very nice. And you've left it alone for the most part, Bob. You haven't.
Yeah, we've changed the wheels out because the original wheels in this car it was considered a compact back in the day, and it only had 13-inch wheels on it, which are pretty hard to find tires for now. So we upgraded it to 15. Upgraded the stereo. We've added air conditioning, but other than that, we've pretty well left it exactly the way it was originally built.
Did you do vintage air on this, or?
It's not vintage air, but it's something similar to it.
Very good. Could you show us the engine by any chance?
Sure.
Are you able to pop that? Very neat and tidy, and here's the air conditioning. It's a Sandin unit up on top. And that's what a lot of the classic car owners like too. I've got an old Chrysler. It's got an engine, it's got a compressor the size of a Harley Davidson sitting in the front of the engine. It probably weighs 100 pounds, and it doesn't work like a new modern unit like that. So that's, Bob's got nice cool air when he's riding in this classic. And that 273 just fits in there beautifully.
The one thing about this car, Jim, is it's not a Plymouth. The U.S. version was a Plymouth Barracuda. This car is built in Windsor, so it's a Valiant, and
I appreciate that. That has often confused me, and so it's a Valiant Barracuda.
It's a Valiant Barracuda. It's a Canadian market car. So,
and we can see the Pentastar. So this would have been built at Windsor Assembly?
That's right. That's right.
So it's a hometown car.
A hometown car. That's right. It that doesn't make it any more valuable. It's just a little rarer than what most people they think is a Plymouth.
And was this the car? I was talking to a gentleman before. Often a classic car is something that we remember maybe from the age we were 12 or 13, or maybe it was Dad's first car. Does this car have memories like that for you?
No, except for I couldn't afford one back in the day.
That's true. That's true. Bob, I really appreciate your talking to us today, sir.
Okay, Jim.
It's always a pleasure.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks for coming to these car shows and supporting us today.
This is my son, Evan.
Evan, nice to meet you. Tell us about the car. We're looking at it's a Ford, but it's a rare Ford. It's a Mercury.
It's a Mercury Monterey, and the car spent most of its life in a collection in Michigan, and it came back to Canada. But one of the points of it is that the original sticker from Dingwall Ford is still on the deck lid. So it's original paint, and it's never been restored. It's only got 30,000 miles on it.
That's amazing.
So it's as it was basically right from the time it came out of the dealership.
That's terrific, because as they say, they're only new once, and this is original unrestored. And ladies and gentlemen, cars like this command a premium if and when they're ever sold, because with a car in the finish of this car with beautiful original paint, it's one thing having an old car that's been a bucket of bolts, it's been fixed up and been repainted, but this is the way it left the factory. And
we got lots of bucket of bolts at home, and that was the idea of buying the car, was to have something that was already on the road
and we got a lot of unfinished projects at home. So this is going to give us some incentive to finish what we got at home.
Look, Rome, and look at these taillights. It reminds me of a rocket ship. It's got that space look about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of the vehicles, especially in the 50s, they did take on the appearance of vehicles in flight, rocket ships, and some of the, like, especially Ford adopted the outer space Meteor,
the Futura and all that, the Lincoln Futura.
Yeah, and they were likened a lot of their vehicles to, with the tail fins and whatnot, were likened to air vehicles, space vehicles. Yeah.
Well, that's a very nice touch. Keith, Evan, thanks for bringing this car here today.
Nice talking to you.
Gentlemen, my pleasure. Thank you. We're with Bob Reed of Ruthven. Bob, nice to be with you.
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever been at a car show where there's an REO. Tell us about the car.
Well, Rio himself, like, he originally started making Oldsmobile, and then he sold the company out in 1905 and started building Rios. And he built Rio cars from 1906 to 1936. And then they built trucks under the Rio name right up to 75. But by that time it was under the White Motor Company.
And I apologize, I should have known better, because it is a Rio, and we're always confused by this REO Speedwagon, but
That's
it was
right.
named for that. But this was in the Diamond Rio truck, and it was Ransom E. Olds, wasn't it?
Eli.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the founder of Oldsmobile as well. And
Yep.
so how long have you had the car?
I bought it in 2006. I'd retired at that time. I got it from a place in Hudson, Massachusetts. And it was totally disassembled. It was in a storage unit just outside of Boston. And when I arrived there, I had seen pictures, so I knew what I was going for. But the body was sitting on sawhorses. The bare frame was laying on the floor, no axles, no nothing. The interior was all out of it. The doors were off of it. So anyway, I bought that and 32 boxes of bits and pieces.
My goodness.
And 14 months later, I drove it to the Rio Nationals in Chatham. Still got the original flathead six-cylinder with the 85 horsepower, but to make it a little more roadworthy, I put an S10 5-speed overdrive, and then I converted. I'm still running the original Rio wheels, but I got disc brakes off a Ford pickup, which has the same bolt pattern as the...
Hidden in behind there, and that's a nice... Jay Leno often talks about that too, making a modern safety upgrade, but one that still keeps it classic, because looking at this, you'd never know this car had disc brakes. I love the headlight buckets. They're truly sublime. This is a whole period in motoring that's gone forever. And this was a high dollar car too, wasn't it?
Back in the day, it was about twice the price that you could buy a Ford for.
I want to thank you for bringing the car here today. It's a beautiful car. Thanks for sharing the story and for bringing us a Rio. Beautiful.
And you don't know this?
I don't know him.
You don't know him.
We're with Jim Labonte of Tilbury. Jim, you and I go a long way back, record shows and cars, and we have so many common interests. You're an international harvester man from Chatham back in the day.
That's correct.
But now you're a retired gentleman and you've got a classic car. Tell us about it.
Oh, thank you, Jim. It's a 1983 Mustang. It's got a V6. It's a GTS, I mean. 3-speed automatic V6. I don't know, it's got the metric tires and rims on it. They didn't make a 13 or a 14 or a 15 inch, so they've just made a metric, and they're a Michelin TRX tire. And it's great with the grandchildren with the top down, and they just love cruising around in it. And that's about all
Jim, you've had a couple of classics, but you settled on this because this is a practical car. You mentioned the grandchildren.
Yes.
So you can keep it classic at the same time, drive around safely. The kids are safe in the back.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
It's it's just like I say, it's really good on fuel, 6-cylinder, and we love it. I've owned it once, and I had it for about 4 or 5 years and sold it. You know that. Yes. And then about 5 years later, I bought the car back again.
Came back into your life. Came around again like a bad penny.
Yeah.
Eh?
So I've had it, about 6 years this time. So I've probably had it for 10, 11 years myself. So And I've got other tires and rims. I keep switching around on it
Very
and
nice.
stuff like that. So
Jim, I love the boot for the convertible top. This is quite a feature that often you'll see a convertible without a boot and it loses a lot of its charm. So this is a real nice item that keeps all the mechanical parts under wrap. Do you drive with the top up often, or do you try and keep it down?
well, it stayed down till last Wednesday night. We went to Colchester to the, well, I belong to the wreck Mustang crew, and we ended up going there, Deb and I, and we ended up putting the top up because it was quite cold. And we had the top coming back down or up on the way back home again. So we got a lot of bugs the other night. So I thought we'd get home early to beat the bugs, but we couldn't. So, but
Well,
yeah.
Jim, I never thought I'd have the chance to interview you, much less talk about this beautiful car. So thank you, brother, for coming out.
All right, thank you, Jim.
And it's always a pleasure. Happy motoring, and we hope next year we'll have a little bit more cruising time than we got in this year.
Well, I hope so.
Very
I
good.
hope so.
Thank you, Jim.
So, yeah, okay, thank you.
This is my 1976 American Motors Pacer. This is actually the second one of these cars I had. I had one from new back in the day, and many of the ladies and gentlemen here today will tell a similar story. You get married, family comes along, there's a youngster, the car's going downhill, you part with it. When you see it leaving the driveway, you know you're making the mistake of your life. This was a car like that. So this is not my original car, but this is the closest to it that I could find. So it's a 76 American Motors Pacer. I like to tell people it's a defunct car from a defunct car company. And younger people might recognize this type of car from the movie Wayne's World. Wayne and Garth drove the blue car with the flames on it. I didn't quite want to trick it out that way. This car was original black. I've had it repainted. Top Gun and Harrow did body and paint on this in the past year, and I think you'll agree they did a beautiful job. And you know, as with any old car, and I appreciate your interest in this, they reach a tipping point and either you save them or they're gone. And there weren't a lot of these cars made to begin with, and there's even few of them around now. I've gone to AMC shows and sometimes even a national get-together. There may only be 4 or 5 Pacers. This is one of them. It's got factory-correct wheels on it. Those are a bit difficult to source. It's a big, heavy car. People like to joke that it was a small car. It's not really that small, and it was a heavy car for its day. It weighs over 3,000 pounds. It has a 6-cylinder engine in it. In some respects, it was an underpowered car, but it was a very dependable American Motors 6, 4.2-liter inline 6. This has a 3-speed manual in it. It can certainly get out of its own way. And I love it because it's different. I like to drive something that not everybody else is driving. I grant you that it's quirky, and this is a car that you either love or hate. Most people seem to hate them. I love them. So, welcome to my Pacer, and I'll just put the hatch up for you, too. This was a kind of a nice feature. It has bucket seats, and you can put the back seats down. It hauls quite a bit of stuff. My wife and I go flower shopping every year with this car, and we can put all kinds of hanging baskets and everything in the back of it. I got my little ride-around buddy, Felix, the cat, with me. He goes everywhere with me. And I'm pleased to say we brought this car back from the dead. I haven't had to do any engine work to it significantly. The body needed a bit of work, new floors and what have we. But I've got it where I want it now, so I'm pleased to be able to bring it to the Apple Fest today. We're with Jack Leacott, who is the convener of this show. I want to say, and I mean this genuinely, often people organize car shows and they may have little to do with cars. It's a Chamber of Commerce kind of approach to something, but you're a car guy.
Yes.
And you have quite a number of them.
I have 3 of them.
Yep. Now tell us what we're looking at here.
This is a 1968 Chrysler New Yorker. It wasn't a convertible, but it is a convertible now.
Tell us about you modified it, or
In
the top was sawed off?
the original people who owned it, they were from Leamington. It was Gwen Kennedy from Leamington or from Kingsville that owned it, and the old car rotted away. So they went to Arizona and bought this New Yorker hardtop body and cut the top off of it and changed all of the parts into this car. They never made a New Yorker convertible, but this is one.
It's a bit of a rarity then, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I've got an old 300, so would you use 300 parts on this, or a Newport or something like that, or would you be able
Yes.
to?
The difference is Newports and 300s don't have the chrome.
Right.
And the grills are all different. They don't have the checkered grill.
Well, this is the high-end Chrysler. The New Yorker is the big Mac Daddy,
Right.
that's for sure.
And across the back is all this checkered too. Across the back, the taillights are all integrated. They're not separate. So it's really different. It has a 383 automatic. I've drove it to Florida 4 times, and I've had it since 2000.
See, that you got the license plate that I want from the B-52's Love Shack. I've got me a Chrysler as big as a whale, and it's about to set sail.
Yes, and we're on our way to the Love Shack.
And I got me a Chrysler. It seats about 20.
Yes.
So come on down, bring your jukebox money, eh?
Yes.
This is it. This is the Love Shack.
Yes, it is.
I've got a 383 in mine as well. And so many of the touches are the same. And this is a long-term acquisition for you, eh? This is your...
Yes, it is.
Very good.
The conversion was done in 1985 by Sid's Restoration in Kingsville.
Well, you'd never know it didn't start life as a convertible. It's certainly a convertible now.
That's original paint.
That's awesome. Jack, thanks for being our host and for talking to us today.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure doing this.
It's great to be with you.
You guys are all amazing.
Thank you. Well, this is a good place to wrap up. This is our virtual Ruthven Applefest Car Show, and we're wrapping it up with the co-convener, Jack Lacotte. Jack was here bright and early today to get the cars assembled, and we wanted to bring this to you from the comfort and safety of your living room. Next year, I'm sure we'll be back with a real car show, but I'll tell you, this has scratched my itch this year, Jack. I was missing the car shows, but you came through for us at the tail end of September, so congratulations.